of education depends largely on the qualifications and competencies of the faculty. In view of the faculty's vital role in influencing education outcomes, the Commission on Higher Education requires that teachers at higher education level must have at least master's degree in the fields in which they teach. Forward, we also have the expanded tertiary education equivalency and accreditation, or ETL, a comprehensive educational assessment program that recognizes, accredits, and gives equivalencies to knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values gained by individuals from a relevant work. It is implemented through deputized higher education institutions that shall award the appropriate college degree. Beneficiaries must be Filipinos who are at least high school graduates. They must have worked for at least 5 years in the field of industry related to the academic program and equivalency. They must also be able to show proof of proficiency, capability, and thorough knowledge in the field applied for equivalency. In addition, there is also what we call cash grant to medical students enrolled in state universities and colleges. The implementing guidelines for the cash grants to medical students enrolled in state universities and colleges are jointly issued by the Commission on Higher Education and the Department of Budget and Management, aims to provide tuition fee subsidy and financial assistance to all medical students enrolled in identified state university colleges offering Doctor of Medicine program. The program is intended for all Filipino medical students, both new and continuing, who are enrolled in the Doctor of Medicine program. So there you go. These are the programs and projects of CHED that will truly produce innovative and globally graduates here in the Philippines. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening. Surgeon Larry, you may have the screen now.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Mijeline. And thank you for that well-presented discussion on the content and process of education in the higher education. Once again, that is Ma'am Mijeline and Paburada. At this moment, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the last part of our presentation, and I am giving you one of the eloquent speakers in our team. Again, we have Ma'am Helen S. Aki to present the generalization, strategies, and intervention that is generated through our position paper. Ma'am Helen Aki, the screen is yours.
Thank you. So please allow me to give our generalization before answering questions, or we will have discussions on the questions in your chat box, in our chat box. So it is a fact that we have a rapidly advancing technologies and increasing global economic integration. And it is a great challenge for us educators in preparing our students to live and work in the 21st century. Furthermore, the challenge to the education will be given appropriate measures, since all countries recognize the direct relation between their economic future and the effective education for our children. Moreover, it is also abundantly clear that all are strongly committed to the continuous improvement of their education system. As we compare a while ago, and even interviewed one of the teachers before here in the Philippines and now in America, education in the Philippines is based on the education system of the United States. They only have some variations in terms of the medium of instruction. Moving forward, In times of this new normal, all levels of learning are implementing educational reforms. Like in DepEd, the programs and projects should address the key issues of access and quality of basic education, relevance and efficiency of education system. As to the textbook or the TESDA, we also exerted effort to revise our curriculum. Actually, last March, during the initial announcement of the lockdown, we already received a memorandum to use our lockdown days to revise our curriculum. And we also undergone a series of workshop, learning sessions, webinars to cope with rapid technological advancement and to provide young people with more meaningful preparation for their future employment. So we are now directed to these priority sectors like we have agriculture. So we need agriculture the most. No? So during this time, I hope everyone appreciated the need for agriculture in terms of food security. During lockdown, we do not need car, we do not need other materials, but we need food. So we are now advised or directed to offer these courses of agriculture. Also, in terms of construction, so we need to develop now skillful carpenters, no? Because before, yung mga karpentero ay nasa kapitbahay lang natin. But nowadays, it's very hard to find skillful carpenters and welders and others for the sake of construction. And of course, because we have this program of Build, Build, Build program. Health, this is now well appreciated also because we need to have or to produce more frontliner services. Information communication technology, of course, for our online digitization and blended delivery. So as we compare in America and India, no, as I found out actually, sorry for not integrating it here, their priority course also is agriculture. But I think we are more fortunate in this area because of our temperate weather. Because it is noted that foreign students are studying agriculture here in the Philippines. And as they graduate and they return to their country, they have a lot of improvement in terms of production and systems. Likewise, moving forward, with a higher education level, the transformation of the learning mode, review and updating of their curriculum is also done for the provision of quality education for all. So yesterday I have heard the Secretary of CHED, wherein they also wanted to have implement the flexible delivery. For some of the recommendations that we could have or the strategies that we need to do, on the first generalization before, we have, since we are talking on the challenges of the educators, so we have to overall review of elementary and secondary education, universal access to and quality of education, notably by emphasizing teaching English, science, technology, and mathematics. Mukha yata mo kasing medyo nakukulelat tayo in terms of this math nung nagkaroon ng international math competition. We also need to integrate the STEM or the science and technology, engineering, as well as the essential skills. What are these essential skills? These are like the critical thinking skills, the creativity skills, judgment, decision making, negotiation skills, and others. And these are all found in the 21st century skills. There is also a need for the provision of alternative delivery schemes, such as a multi-grade teaching, mobile teaching, and instructional management by parents or community. So this time we need to include our teachers and the community for an effective teaching, most especially in the disaster area. As compared to the America and Myanmar, they are already implementing the blended or the mobile teaching since 1990s. They also have this homeschooling that we can also implement. Next, also, as part of our recommendation, we need to have a management training for principal and school administrators. I do not know if you will also agree with us. But in our case, in TESDA, all our administrators are required to undergo national certification training. So may NC dapat sila. Say for example, they should have an SMAU NC2, so they will undergo training in SMAU. And they should be accredited as a competent welder. So they should have, our requirement is to have at least 3, same as true to us trainers. We need to have at least 3 NCs for us to become multitasking. And another requirement for us is to undergo this trainer's methodology course to be more aware on the different teaching strategies. So I think as a principal or as a school administrator, they should be a teacher first. They should know how to become a teacher first rather than to be a boss. Then also, a development of research is much needed now. We have teaching while you can have the training while you are discovering something. And I think this is an effective measure of learning and understanding. Like for example, in teaching them on the recycling or on the proper waste management, why not create a plastic containers boat? Just like one of my recent experiment in our NSTP, we asked them to collect all the plastic containers, the bottled mineral water containers, and form it into a boat. And it's effective. They are having fun while learning. We also have the improvement of school libraries. So I think it is now time for us to have this kind of e-library, electronic library. And let us not also forget the different books and references in order for our trainees to develop further understanding and of course in the communication skills. And of course, it's also important that we consider the teachers' welfare by having a retooling courses, just like us, we do have retooling courses on the different priority sectors. So now I appreciate how to weld. I also appreciate how to create an organic fertilizer. And we also need a capability building up. Of course, wellness benefits. No? In us, we have these health card benefits. And we were provided with vitamins also. And of course, proper awards and recognitions. Moving forward, having those capability building up, educators, teachers are able to update instructional materials in various fields, integrating the 21st century, the core skills, and essential skills. And likewise, this is, I think, what we need most, is upgrading of equipments for both public and private institutions. This is, in this area, I should be honest, that we are quite behind from other counties. So we need to have upgraded equipment. Like for example, in the senior high school, they have already this NC1 and NC2, but the different equipment tools are not provided to them. So we still cater this level of NC. Moving forward, we also need to improve our access to the poor and the disadvantaged. So just like PSDA have, we have the PSDA abot lahat. And I think this is also true to DepEd because, and CHED, no, because they also have these extension services. And they even go to the houses of their students, of their pupil, para kumustahin sila and to give their module. And lastly, rationalizing state colleges and universities for improving the effectiveness in the use of public funds for higher education and to increase the efficiency of spending. So these are all some of our own strategies, interventions, or generalizations and recommendations made. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Helen Aki, for sharing to everybody the generated strategies, intervention, and the recommendations. And that ends our discussion, and our group is now ready for the question and answer portion of our webinar. Dr. Alfredo Aquino.
Is there, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So is there a question and answer? Where are the participants?
If I may read the question here. Question from Sir Davis Apas. What are the approaches to K-12 curriculum that we have seen are effective? What approaches to the curriculum that we have seen need to be revised, rethought? So please share some examples. So the K-12 curriculum, Sir John Mary, Ma'am Maria Romica, or Ma'am Mechelin, my colleagues in DepEd.
Yes, ma'am. In terms of the strategies in teaching or the approaches in teaching, we will always include, as what we have discussed earlier during our discussion part, it's the integration of the 21st century skills wherein one of the priorities is the integration of media literacy. So that is very vital now, and that is highly appreciated now by our students, because during the normal setup of learning, we have already instilled in them the value of learning technology or learning through technology through various platforms. And now, during this time of pandemic, they could easily grasp lesson through the different platforms that we are using in teaching. Another thing is we can never depart from the truth that our teachers during under this K-12 curriculum are still doing the teaching process through the learning experience or experience approach. I mean, learning by doing approach, wherein students are exposed to real life situations. Just like in our case, in my case, I am a PLE teacher. What I do is that I let them do the cooking activity and facilitate the activity, after which is the evaluation. The good thing is that I do the evaluation in front of them, wherein they listen to the positive feedback, at the same time the negative feedback about their performances. And that is the good thing about the K-12 curriculum, which is focused on collaborative and independent learning.
Thank you, sir, for that answer. Sir Davis, is it okay? Another question from Sir Russell and Ma'am Eileen. Do you think the Philippine government must adopt the STEM curriculum of neighboring countries? What's this STEM, sir? Is it science, technology?
Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Okay. Do you think the Philippine government?
I think yes, and we've already started implementing it, and we've already adopted it. In fact, there are schools already who adopted those kind of curriculum. And that is already offered in the junior high school, yung STEM po natin. And also they are following the spiral approach in teaching those subjects under the STEM program po.
Thank you. In textbook, we also have this STEM already integrated. So STEM integrate, we call it STEM integrate. Question number 3. On the table shown, the 2002 BEC versus K-12 curriculum share the same content. However, the time allotment for instruction and learning was decreased to approximately 3 hours per day. For grade 6 and 4 hours per week for grade 7 to 12 with extra programs content. In the present curriculum, how would the decreased time allotment suffice for the same content to achieve better and futuristic goals?
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am, for reading that very nice question. Since I've also discussed that in the secondary education curriculum, the subject and time allotment, just like what I have integrated in my discussion, 4 hours in a week for subjects like English, mathematics, science, MAPE, and TLE, that 4-hour time allotment per week is done to give way for what we call ICL, or the Independent Collaborative Learning. At the same time, the 4-hour per week allotment gives way for students to have their rest for the lecture or discussion sessions. Because through ICL, they will be given activities wherein they can work independently and collaboratively with the supervision of the teacher in charge or the subject teacher. So ICL give them more opportunities to showcase more of their performances and learning. Indeed, that is aligned to the 21st century skills po.
Okay, thank you.
Let me just add, Ma'am Helen, the time allotment, yung 4 hours po, that does not compromise the quality of education, because we teachers in the secondary education, and I believe also in the elementary education, prepares daily learning lesson log, or the DLL, wherein we need to indicate the competencies that we need to target, and that should be achievable per lesson. So wala pong nasasayang na competency, kahit na 4 hours in a week lang po yung pagtuturo doon sa mga subject.
Okay. Or learning is not only found on the classroom, but also even under the tree.
Yes.
Does that suffice the answer, Ma'am Shines? Any additional? Okay, if none, I hear none. Let me read the other question. How are the educators adapting to the current situation to ensure that the aims of K-12 will still be successfully pursued for the benefit of the students?
Alright, for that, ma'am, maybe we can hear an answer from Ma'am Rochelle, who discussed on the elementary education. After that, I will be giving my inputs to in terms of the secondary education. And maybe after my discussion will be Ma'am Helen's turn for the TPE. Ma'am Rochelle?
Hello, hello sir. Hello ma'am. Pwede pong pakiulit yung question. Nabura po kasi dito. Nag-restart po yung phone ko kanina.
Yes, Ma'am Rochelle. How are the education adapting to the current situation to ensure that the aims of K-12 will still be successfully pursued for the benefit of the students?
Okay, so thank you, Ma'am Helen. So as I mentioned a while ago, the DepEd implements different modalities during this time of pandemic. And I also believe na ito yung nag-open ng door para sa, especially for us in elementary, to embrace the technology. Before the pandemic, wala pa yung itong mga digital, we are not so into online classes, but now we have to embrace it. Para din naman po ito sa sinasabi nating future of our department. So we implement different kinds of modalities depending on the capabilities of the school and as well as our learners in the community. So we have this printed, modular, digital, online, TV and radio-based instructions for this time of pandemic. And we also conduct assessment aside from the activities given in the modules. We give teacher-made assessments and other tasks for them to perform. And so we also follow that MELC, or the most essential learning competencies, and we make sure na we follow the guidelines and instructions given to us by the department. That's all, ma'am.
All right. Thank you so much, Ma'am Rochelle. On our part in the secondary education, we also offer the so-called blended learning, wherein we combined different modalities in favor of the students' preferences. We offer different distance learning modalities like modular or printed modular instruction. We also offer online learning, and we also offer the so-called digital modular learning, wherein students answer their modules through their devices, and we use online platforms for online learning. But prior to that, we also formulate our weekly home learning plan, where the learners can track the progress of their learning. In the weekly home learning plan, we include the different activities to be undertaken for the week, and that involves also the participation of the parents, where the learning of their children is monitored. And through these different learning modalities, we also give assessment to our students through exams that are given, a printed assessment that is given to our students, and with the efforts of the teachers, I could say that elementary and high school teachers on the basic education are really heroes. Why? Because despite this pandemic, they still managed to conduct home visitation to our students who are showcasing poor academic performances reflected on their modular learning modalities, or in their modular instruction book.
Thank
Yes,
you,
Ma'am
Sir Chandleri. In terms of the technical vocational education, this one is referring to K-12, but we only have two aims. Number one is for them to be employed and for them to have their own business. So thereby, we are giving them the basic education from grade 1 up to grade 10. And then in grades 11, grade 9 and 10, they already have this NC1 and NC2. And grades 11 and 12, that's their senior high, they will choose on their track, whether they will proceed on TVL, on HUMS, and other tracks. So for example, in the TVL, they proceed there. They have this food processing, cookery, and they will be provided again with that NC2, so food processing NC2. So that's the part of textbook there is for their assessment. And to be honest, a part of our assessment, they need to improve some of the technologies needed as well as on the values. We would like for as much as we decide that we will produce unemployable ones, because they might not continue to a higher education. We have this kind of assessment that I think in terms of values and attitudes and emotional maturity, they are not kept full molded in the industry sector. So if that's so, if that's the case, then here is TESDA to give more options of qualifications and more option for them to land a job. So a part of our training curriculum is to mold their emotional, their basic knowledge, their values, attitudes, in order for them to become employable. Because skills is easy to learn, but more so with the values and attitudes, that's quite long time to be embedded with our students. So yeah, we are giving them more options of qualifications, and more experiences in the industry, so that if they are already in their own job training, so talagang doon na ma-assess mo pati yung kanyang attitude in the industry.
Let me just add something, Ma'am Helen, on the secondary education part. For the senior high school, in our case, in our school, we allow our students to come to school for their trainings, because senior high school is a preparation in achieving their national certificate, and we cannot train our students online, and we cannot they cannot learn the skills needed for the assessment through online. So what we do is we allow our students to come to school and have their trainings. However, we still follow the protocols set by the IATF to ensure the safety of our students. So yun po yung mga ginagawang measures ngayon ng DepEd din po.
Yes, and that is a good intervention, since we could not do otherwise.
Yes.
But we hope that the real scenario in the industry could be appreciated with that measures.
Yes.
Okay, another question from Ma'am Shine. Is it okay, sir, if we still have to entertain question, Dr. Aquino?
One more question.
Okay, last one. Looking at where the Philippine education is at now globally, we can say that we are behind when futuristic issue is in view. How far in the future do you think our education content and process is aiming to go for? Wow, Ma'am Shine.
Yes, ma'am. Would you like to answer now, Ma'am Helen?
Okay, Sergeant Larry.
All right. How far can our education content go for our future? Maybe we should answer that in a way that our objective, or the objectives of the education department, has always been to adapt to constant changes in terms of the global demands. And the major reforms that happened to our educational system has already been implemented and is still a big hope for us to continue. And these reforms, just to inform you, are patterned from other countries which are who are already been accomplishing a lot. They're already victorious, although we haven't seen it so far. We can't see yet most of it in our educational system, but we are already on our way to having this kind of what we call futuristic education. We will always embrace change because we always want the change. Helen?
Very well said, Sir John Larry. Any additional,
Ma'am
Dr.
Helen?
Aquino? Yes, ma'am.
Ramika?
Ma'am Ramika,
Yes po,
any
additional po dun sa, yes po. For me, technology will certainly be a major factor in how education in the future differs from education today. However, it won't be the only influence. Successful educators will realize that they need to rethink the entire model of education and redesign it so that it is more student-centered. This means adapting new technologies, but it also means giving up on archaic attitudes about what constitutes educational success and recognizing that educational competition is reality. Yun po.
Thank you, Ma'am Maria Ramika. Any additional, Dr. Aquino, or
Well
any
said, Ma'am
instruction?
Ramika.
Yes po, and for me, the future of technology in education is the cloud. Technology can often be a barrier to teaching and learning. I think the cloud will go a long way to removing this barrier. Why? By removing the number of things that can go wrong, schools will only need one major thing to be prepared for the future. They will not need software installed, servers or local file storage. Schools will need a fast, robust internet connection. Infrastructure is paramount to the future of technology in education. We don't know what the new device will be in the future. What we do or what we do know is that it will need the cloud, or we will need the cloud. Schools and other educational institutions will need to future-proof their infrastructure the best they can. This should be happening now. If you want to start to use mobile technology in your school, whether it is an iPad program or a bring your own device program, your connectivity must be fast and reliable. Student and teacher buy-in is so important. If the network is slow and things are not working properly, students and teachers will not want to use the devices. Make sure the infrastructure is there before the devices. Yun po. Yun po yung sagot ko.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Maria Ramika. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen, the end of our team paper presentation. Any instruction, Dr. Aquino?
Yeah, I will have my time.
Yes, sir.
Okay, maybe 5 minutes or 4 minutes. First, I would like to congratulate the Philippine Ocean for the delivery of their position paper,
Thank you so much.
which I changed the title. I don't know if this is correct. Are the contents and processes of education in the Philippines futuristic? Okay, so you're looking at the future and you said yes. The contents and processes of education in the Philippines are futuristic. So you were able to justify this by citing authoritative sources, okay, and very comprehensive, very comprehensively, okay, and that I consider this position paper presentation as very good as far as delivery is concerned. Well, the discussions are articulate, although maybe the highlights should have been projected in the as far as your projection is concerned, maybe your PowerPoint projection should have been brief, and that the highlights were only included, and maybe you have explained these highlights as far as your PowerPoint projection is concerned. Anyway, you presented very widely the different aspects of the content and processes as far as Philippine education is concerned, and you included the curriculum, the teaching methodologies, so forth and so on. And you have some kind of random comparative presentation with some countries. Okay. And maybe you were able to discuss what is spiral progression, which is taken also or related to constructivism, protocols, learning theories. Okay. And you have independent collaborative learning, which is about self-learning and self-initiative of the learner. Okay. These are all included in your way by which you justify that the processes, the contents and processes are futuristic. If ever it is futuristic, you should have discussed also the most important aim of education. The most important aim of education is the educated man. Who is an educated man? Educated man might be a farmer, a welder, or an executive in a business company, or even an elective with an elective position. And they share the basics. They share the basics of what we call education, if you are an educated man. And most of the things that are included in order that we can be futuristic, which you mentioned also, but not widely, are the following. We are in a dynamic change, okay? Meaning to say there's change every day, and you said the future cannot be predicted. And so we must have to prepare our students to become educated in terms of their preparation for the future. And their preparation for the future are the following, you mentioned this. Okay, it's about critical thinking. Okay, graduates of the high school, just the senior high school. We'll just look at the senior high school because that's basic education. It is the highest in basic education that is expected. Okay, critical thinking, divergent thinking, innovative thinking. What is that? Number one is the ability of a person to question the status quo. Meaning to say that if you are critical, you can challenge conventional wisdom. So what is conventional wisdom? The thinking today. What is the thinking today? What's the perspective today? What are the things that we know today? Can we challenge this so that we will have continuous change? Okay. Do we have the ability, do our graduates have the ability to challenge current theories, current working procedures, current quality levels, okay? In order that we can improve, we can develop, and we can change. Are our workers critical? See, for example, you are a welder. Are you critical about your work? How can you improve your work? Okay, you have that in your test, in C3, something like that.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. NC3, NC4.
Yeah, but those things will come from people who are divergent thinkers, who think differently, such that they can challenge the current practices. Okay? They challenge the current theories as used. Okay? And that is a part of the spiral progression that you are saying. Because in spiral progression, we are using our experiences in terms of the current problems, the problems that we face today, the problems that we face in our work. Okay? Do the workers have the ability to critically look into their processes such that they can unlearn things. They can learn from their mistakes, and they can learn better in terms of the developments that they make, that they produce in their workplaces, even in agriculture, fisheries, so forth and so on, in the industrial sector. Okay. Do you have workers like this? Okay. And these are the workers that we need in the next 30 years. Workers that can think, because, you see, maybe the next 30 years, we will have half human, half machine workers with the use of artificial intelligence. And so, if we don't have this kind of thinking of our workers, okay, they must be returned, they must be retrained again, because they may not be able to adapt, they may not be able to be resilient in terms of the changes in the next 30 years. Okay. So maybe our most important thing to happen is that we can produce an educated man who is a thinker. Okay? And it goes down even to the lowly farmer. And it goes up to the best engineer, to the best technologists, to our scientists. Okay? It is the educated man is different from a learned man. Okay? Because when you say a learned man, he is a person who is respected because he is well read, he knows so much knowledge, interdisciplinary knowledge, so forth and so on. These are the learned men. Okay? But educated man is different, because an educated man is a productive citizen. Okay? Is a productive citizen at the lowest level after high school. Okay? Now, you can look into UNESCO's 4 pillars of learning, and that is the continuous thing there is learning to know. Learning to know. That is continuous learning. You said there self-learning, self-instruction. Okay. So you will have lifelong learning. If you have lifelong learning, okay, you are learning, always learning to learn, and learning to know, learning to do, so forth and so on. There is continuous learning. And what is learning to learn as continuous? We must have to learn in other ways, not the conventional way of learning. There are so many things now that we consider to be alternatives of learning. And you said you have your ETL, your alternative learning system, so forth and so on. These are contributed to the UNESCO's 4 pillars of learning. What is important is that our citizens know what they don't know and know what they know. And if they know what they don't know, they know how to learn and unlearn continuously. Okay? And people or workers or citizens or educated man should be selective and discriminative of the information, data and information that is available, because we are bombarded with so much data and information. Like you, in your particular delivery, you should have just selected, you should have discriminated. The most important things that will justify your answer, which is yes. Repetitive, to justify that the Philippine education system is futuristic. Okay? What matters most is that we are assured of a better world in the next 30 years. Can you answer that? Through education. It is not through education alone, of course, because schooling is different from education. Okay? Maybe you are talking about schooling. Schooling is attendance to the school, performing the requirements, so forth and so on. Education is different. Okay? Education is wider than schooling. Of course, education mostly is taken from schooling. Okay? I will not take long your time. I know you are very tired and that it is a Sunday. I hope the others are listening, the others are participating, and I congratulate the people who submitted their questions. That is very good. We have Davis Apas, and the Panis couple, Russell and Eileen, and of course Shines. There's another one. There are 4.
From Joy.
From Joy. So Joy is not a part of your company. It's not a part of your team.
Yes, sir. Yes.
No. Okay, I listen here, Joy, but she is not a part of your team. Okay? And I don't know if you answered well the questions. I cannot catch up. And I don't know how satisfied are those people who asked the questions. Maybe we shall have another session for that.
Very satisfied, sir.
Right. Yes. Anything?
Very satisfied, especially with the answer of Ma'am Rumika and teacher Helen and John Larry.
Very good. You were able to answer the questions of our listeners, our audience.
Thank you, sir.
So again, congratulations. You have a very commendable position paper. I thought it's an exposition paper. You see position paper because you answered an issue. Okay. And that you have a very good delivery, articulate presenters, authoritative sources, and very comprehensive paper. Congratulations to the group. Thank
you so much,
I do not want to use the term group. Congratulations
so
again
much,
to
sir.
Team Pacific Ocean. I'm very
Thank you, sir.
happy and I'm satisfied. You have a very good delivery.
Yes, sir. And with that, our
Your
team.
hands.
Yes, sir. And with that, our team, the Philippine Ocean, would like to say that we cannot see the future, but we can make it happen.
Yes.
So I think that concludes our presentation. Once again, we would like to thank our very able Professor Dr. Alfredo Aquino, our classmates, both Philippine-based and Thailand-based. Thank you so much for being with us. And of course, may I thank my fellow